He was a doctor, a novelist, a sculptor, a poet, a scientist, and a revolutionary thinker, all in one man. He lived only 35 years, yet changed the course of an entire nation. This is the story of Dr. Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines.
Fact number 1. Jose Rizal was a polymath and a polyglot of extraordinary ability. Rizal could speak and write in more than 20 languages, including Spanish, German, French, English, Latin, Greek, Arabic, and several Filipino dialects. But language was only one facet of his genius. He was simultaneously a physician, novelist, poet, sculptor, painter, naturalist, and political thinker, making him one of the most intellectually gifted figures of the entire 19th century. In an era when most people mastered one craft, Rizal mastered them all.
Fact number 2. Rizal wrote 2 novels that threatened the most powerful empire in the world. In 1887, Rizal published No Limitang Here or Touch Me Not, followed by El Filibusterismo in 1891, both written in Spanish. These novels were searing exposes of colonial abuse, corrupt clergy, and the suffering of Filipino people under the Spanish rule. They weren't just books. They were bombs, literally bombs that detonated nationalist consciousness across the Philippine archipelago. The Spanish colonial government was so threatened by these works that they banned them. Possessing a copy should land you in prison, but the words had already spread and they could not be unwritten.
Fact number 3. Rizal's story began in a small town shaped by a remarkable mother. Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Riolonda was born on June 19, 1861 in Calamba, Laguna, to a relatively prosperous family. His father, Francisco Mercado, was farmer, but it was his mother, Theodora Alonso, a highly educated woman who first taught young Jose to read, instilling in him a love for language that would define his entire life. Behind every great man, they say, is a great woman. For Rizal, that woman was his mother.
Fact number 4. Rizal chose medicine not for wealth or status, but out of love. Rizal studied at the Universidad Central de Madrid and later at the University of Heidelberg in Germany, where he specialized in ophthalmology, the study of the eyes. His motivation, his mother Theodora, was losing her eyesight, and he was determined to save her vision. He eventually performed a successful cataract operation on his own mother. The boy from Calamba had become a healer, driven not by ambition, but by devotion. Fact number 5. And this one might surprise you. Rizal never wanted a revolution. While other Filipino leaders like Andres Bonifacio called for armed uprising, Rizal believed in peaceful reform through education, writing, and political dialogue. He was convinced that the Philippines could earn its rights not through bloodshed but through enlightenment. He was a man of words, not weapons. And yet, history placed him at the center of a revolution he never started and could not stop.
Fact number 6. Rizal founded an organization that lasted just 2 days before the Spanish came for him. On July 3, 1892, Rizal established La Liga Filipina, a civic organization designed to unite Filipinos, promote education, and fight injustice through legal, peaceful means. 2 days later, Spanish authorities arrested him. They saw him as the most dangerous man in the Philippines.
Fact number 7. Rizal was exiled to a remote town in Mindanao, and he returned into something extraordinary. sent to the Pitan from 1892 to 1896, Rizal could have wallowed in defeat. Instead, he built a school, opened a free clinic for the sick, designed a waterworks system using bamboo pipes to bring clean water to the community, and continued his scientific research, corresponding with the European scholars along the way. In exile, most men break, but Rizal built a town. Number 8. The Philippine Revolution was not Rizal doing, and he disapproved of it. The Katipunan, the secret revolutionary society that launched the Philippine Revolution in 1896, was founded by Andres Bonifacio, not Rizal. In fact, Rizal publicly disapproved of the armed uprising, believing Filipinos were not ready to fight a war of independence. He was nonetheless arrested, tried, and blamed by Spanish authorities for inciting the very rebellion he tried to prevent. History's cruelest irony, the man who preached peace was condemned for war. Fact number 9. At 35 years old, Jose Rizal faced a firing squad, and he faced it without flinching. On the morning of December 30, 1896, at Bagumbayan, now known as Luneta Park in Manila, Rizal was executed by Spanish firing squad. He was charged with rebellion, sedition, and conspiracy. He was 35 years old. He had reportedly requested to face his executioners to be shot in the chest. Looking forward, the request was denied. But witnesses say that as the shots rang out, Rizal twisted his body in his final moments so that he might die facing the sky. Whether legend or truth, it speaks to who he was, a man who refused to bow even in death. His execution did not silence the revolution, it ignited it. Fact number 10. On the last night of his life, Rizal wrote one of the most beautiful poems in the Philippine history, and he hid it where no one would think to look. The night before his execution, Rizal wrote a farewell poem, what now we call Mi Ultimo Adios, or My Last Farewell. He gave it no title, he secretly folded it and concealed it inside an alcohol lamp, which he handed to his family as a keepsake. Only after his death did they discover the hidden message inside. The poem spake of his love for his motherland, his willingness to give everything, his youth, his life, his very dreams for the freedom of the Filipino people. It ends not in bitterness, but in peace. Even in death, he was still writing, still teaching, still fighting with words. Jose Rizal was a doctor, a writer, a scientist, a lover, a dreamer, and a martyr. He was a man who believed that the pen was mightier than the sword, and proved it with his life. More than a century after his death, his words still echo across the archipelago he loved so deeply. He did not live to see the Philippines free, but he planted the seed, and from the seed, a nation grew.